and welcome to Crime Bytes, the show where we talk about some truly bizarre and disturbing crime cases. My name is Liz, and today is True Crime Tuesday. So, last week we took a look at teachers who their students and how sentencing seems to be pretty unbalanced depending on whether the teacher in question is a male or a female. We focused on Mary Kay Letourneau's case and how a teacher took an impressionable young boy and basically abused him by taking advantage of what was a youthful crush on her and attempting to turn it into a full-on relationship, breaking the public's trust in her as a teacher, but also robbing young Billy of his childhood. We also looked at how the ranges of sentencing can be much worse if you are a male teacher in this situation. So today we're going to look a little closer at a case that parallels Mary and Billy's case in many ways, but our gender roles are going to swap. We're going to look at a male teacher who developed an inappropriate crush on one of his female students and how that ended up playing out. So I came across this case while surfing Hulu, and Abducted by Teacher popped up as my suggestions, and I was researching last week's cases, so of course I had to watch it, and they did a pretty good job portraying the creepiness factors in this case, so I am going to cut a few clips from that in as we go along. So let's start by meeting Tad Cummins. Tad Cummins taught health science at Collegiate University in Maury County, Tennessee. He's one of the teachers that everyone seemed to love, the cool teacher, if you will. He was reported to be a mentor and a positive influence in many of his students' lives. He lived with his wife, who he had been married to since 1985, and they had 2 daughters together. They seemed like a pretty solid family. Now let's meet Elizabeth Thomas. She would be entering Collegiate, sorry if I'm getting that wrong, that high school in the beginning of 2016 after being homeschooled up until that point. She was one of 10 children to Kimberly and Anthony Thomas. Anthony was working as an exterminator and had extremely long hours. So not much is known about before 2014 with regards to child abuse, but Kimberly was abusive to some, but not all of her children. Elizabeth is one of the children that was abused. It was reported that she did things such as throw Elizabeth down the stairs. One time she even smashed her head against a washing machine. She would deny these allegations, but at the end of 2015, Anthony would take sole custody of the children, which would end up resulting in Elizabeth starting her public school journey. Unfortunately, this path would put her in a collision course with Tad Cummins. So Elizabeth is starting public school for the first time in 2016 after her father received sole custody of her and her 9 siblings, and her mother actually receiving a no contact order in 2015. So she is a new girl in the 8th grade, and all she wants at that time is to fit in. Tad kind of picks up on her reserved nature and attempts to take her under his wing. He would end up bringing her to his church with his wife and daughters, and she recalls him buying her a Bible. She also recalls him sitting across from her at his teacher's desk, saying that he bet she looks good naked. This would be the first of many inappropriate incidences that would spiral into an insane nightmare of an adventure. Anyways, the clip I'm about to play for you depicts their first kiss, along with the way that Tad would speak to her.
Come on, let's go. Let's go, everybody. Come on. Beth, why don't you hang out for a minute? Come on, wake up. Wake up. You okay, Beth? You were kind of quiet today.
Yeah, fine.
That's about what I said yesterday.
I don't know. Maybe a little.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. It's just I get carried away sometimes.
It's fine. Seriously, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's just when I look at you, I See this incredible, beautiful, mature young woman who has no idea how incredible she is. But nobody ever tells you that, do they?
No.
How special you are.
No, never.
Look at me. You are special, Elizabeth Thomas. I see you. Can't stop thinking about you, Beth.
Sorry, this just makes me so angry. He took a young girl who he knew was reserved and didn't know her place in the world and just ran with it. Notice how he asks her questions like, "Oh, no one tells you how special you are." Anyways, as a result of this, Tad is getting closer and closer to Elizabeth, and as the year progresses, she is getting closer and closer to him. It seems that he honed in on this vulnerability in her and completely just started driving the situation where it started going. It is reported that he would meet with her in the closet in his classroom, and he would fondle her and just attempt to ignite these feelings that he was developing for her.
Hey, let me see your phone. Unlock it, I won't look. Okay, you see. Put my phone number in. There. Now I'm Crystal on your phone, and you'll be Frank in mine. Crystal and Frank. What is it?
Oh, I just wish we didn't have to be so secretive.
Look, people won't understand what we have. Sometimes God puts soulmates in different generations. But if you tell anybody, they want us to be together, and you don't want that, do you?
No. I don't know.
Sure you do. You know, nobody cares about you as much as I do, don't you?
So it would continue just like that until a student would observe them kissing in his classroom. When this happened, a full-on investigation was launched and Tad Cummins was placed on a suspension while they looked into the issue, and they told him to keep away from Elizabeth while they did. I'm sorry. I can't say Tad Cummins one more time before pointing out just how creepy and dirty just his name is. Tad Cummins. Sorry. Anyways, they started investigating Tad Cummins, and I'm going to play a quick clip that basically restates the point I was trying to make last week.
Miss Thomas, I know you just met me today, and I'm asking you to reveal some uncomfortable things about a teacher you've come to trust. But if Mr. Cummins is engaging in any kind of physical activity with you, and he's betraying that trust that you put in him,
the public trust that we place in teachers, or that we should, or that we need to be able to have, and then abusing that should have serious consequences. Anyways, Tad was being investigated, and you would think the police and the school telling Mr. Cummins not to contact Elizabeth would make him think twice before doing so. It didn't really seem to. It had the exact opposite effect, and it escalated the situation further. He threatened to kill himself if she didn't run away with him, as their love was what was costing him this job and his family. So he gets her to agree to meet with him while she's at work, and when she gets in the car, he shows her a gun and they take off. So the pair takes off, but they both knew what was going to happen because that morning Tad cleaned out the safe box he shared with his wife containing roughly $4,500, And he also took their 2 guns with him. Elizabeth also packed bags, but she told one of her sisters that if she wasn't back by 6 to call the police. So she knew. It was like she knew what was going to happen, but didn't really know how to stop it. Reportedly, that night was the first night that Tad met Elizabeth. The pair would travel west and stay in hotels along the way. Cummins would give her alcohol and take her clothes away from her at night. Then he decided that the only way they would be free was to get out of the U.S. And because there was a manhunt on for him, he knew getting into Mexico from California would probably not happen. So he thought it would be a better idea to, I kid you not, kayak to Panama. Yep. So he bought them a kayak, and she got in with him in San Diego, and he clumsily began this 3,000-mile trip. When they basically capsized shortly after they started, Cummins admitted defeat, so that's good, and the pair headed back to San Diego, where he formulated a new plan. He looked for a commune where the 2 could disappear into, and they settled in on Black Bear Commune in Northern California. He told everyone there that his name was John and her name was Joanna. Cummins would lose his temper and scare some of the other people who lived with them at the commune. At one point, he even threatened another resident with a knife. At that point, he and Elizabeth were asked to leave the commune. After this, they found a place nearby where a Good Samaritan allowed them to stay on a remote cabin in his property in exchange for work. This man would later be the one to turn Cummins in, once he realized who he was. The cabin was small and had no insulation, so Elizabeth would be freezing at night. This clip depicts how things finally unraveled for them.
We're homeless. I want to go home.
We can't, sweetheart. We're fugitives. I'm gonna go get us some breakfast.
See if you can adjust your attitude while I'm gone.
FBI! Hand him here now! Gun! Drop the gun! Put the gun on the ground now! Put the gun down!
Look at me! We got numerous firearms pointed at you. The only way to guarantee your safety is to do as you're told. Now turn around! We got him!
Got him. Walk back slowly to the south. My boy! Keep coming. Stop there. Down on your knees. Any other occupants inside that shed? It's the FBI. I need you to exit with your hands empty, clearly visible. The only way to guarantee your safety. See your hands. See Elizabeth. She's on the ground. Get your knees down. Right there. Get on the ground. Get your knees. Okay. Get down. Stay calm. We'll get you out of here. Get in there.
Many people wonder why Elizabeth didn't say anything, but she was really trauma bonded to Tad at this point, and he put the loss of his job and his family on her, a 15-year-old girl, and told her if she left him or he lost her, he would kill himself. That must have been horrifying.
Elizabeth, can we ask some questions? Elizabeth, can we ask some questions? Elizabeth, is it true you've been trying to run away with Tad Cummins for months? Elizabeth.
got back home to her father and had to deal with trying to go back to a normal life, which, to be fair, she never even really had. At least now she would have people in her life to try and help her get back on some sort of normal track.
Yeah. The reporters are outside our house every day. It just feels like getting back to a normal life is so...
It's complicated.
impossible.
Yeah.
The worst thing is, which I can't say to anybody, is that part of me still misses talking to him. Not like being with him at all, just having someone to listen to me.
Yeah, that's understandable. He set himself up in your life as the only one who cared about you. That's exactly what they do.
Who's they?
Groomers. They gain their victims' trust and then gradually push them out of their comfort zone. Think back to when you first met him. Were there moments you felt uncomfortable but didn't know how to say it?
Well, he would say things about how I looked. Make me feel gross.
Yeah?
But he was also there for me to talk about anything.
Yeah. That's the confusing part of it, right? You felt that way because he manipulated you into thinking that what he was doing was best for you.
Then shouldn't I feel better now? Shouldn't I just be happy?
Well, if it were that easy, I'd be out of business. Yeah. Should I get started?
Yeah.
Then she had to deal with people asking her that question of why she didn't leave, and some people in her life telling her that she broke up Tad's marriage. Really? Anyway, this was just one really sad one, in my opinion, for so many reasons. Tad Cummins' wife would leave him, and he would receive 20 years in prison for transportation of a minor across state lines with intent to engage in criminal sexual activities. He also got an obstruction of justice charge. Elizabeth would address him in front of the court.
It's very difficult for me to stand here and fully describe the impact that Mr. Cummins' crimes have had on my life. The effects have been
Why don't you take a seat, sweetheart?
Do you want to stop?
Miss Jones.
Your Honor, in order to not re-traumatize Ms. Thomas, I'm going to read her statement.
Of course. Please proceed.
The effects have been devastating and permanent, and they are not over. Mr. Cummins, what you did to me is unspeakable. I don't know that any words could ever accurately express how much pain I have suffered and continue to suffer because of you.
These are not your words.
When I started school, you picked me out of the crowd.
It's not how
You
you
saw a
talk.
broken girl who was lonely, scared, and traumatized.
I'm
You
the
made
only
her
one who
feel
ever saw
safe
you.
and loved because you saw what she needed and made her believe you would be her protector.
I'll protect you.
Your choices destroyed not just my family, but also yours. The truth is,
Look at me.
How much time do I have to serve?
I love you.
Wait. I can finish. For the last 2 years, I have been picking myself up piece by piece and proving to myself that I am much, much stronger than you convinced me I was. And I chose to surround myself with people who really love and care for me. And because of that, I'm able to stand here today, to face you, to tell you that you don't have the power over me that you once had. You can't hurt me anymore. Tad Cummins is a sick, disgusting criminal, and I believe his sentence should be 38 years in prison. 1 year for each day he kept me away from my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Thomas. You're excused.
Just wow. I can't even imagine. I like how they portray this in the movie, but apparently in real life, poor Elizabeth fled the courthouse when he pled guilty. And then she tried to read her victim impact statement, and her attorney ultimately did have to take over for her. Poor girl. It seems like Elizabeth would end up getting her happy ending, though, as she would go on to marry a man her own age and have a son with him, which is ultimately what she said she wanted from life. So, in this case, we had a 51-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl. So, as far as love goes, do you think that's possible? We asked a similar question last week with our 34-year-old girl and 13-year-old boy. Were the children too impressionable to form a legitimate love connection to their teachers? Or did the teachers keep an eye out for the perfect student to mold into their perfect partner? Or somewhere along the line, did they start out wanting to teach and help kids and then just get sucked into some feelings that they inappropriately caught for a particular student? And if so, does love transcend, or are the feelings more rooted in a sexual desire that the teacher senses that they can exploit? I think it would depend on the case. What about Tad Cummings' 20-year sentence compared to Mary Kay Letourneau's 7.5 years? Do you think justice was served in both cases? I think it comes down to you just cannot, if you are a teacher, let anything like that happen within you and your feelings. If it does creep up a little, you have to be like, this is a student. I can't. And it really should be that simple. Unfortunately, it isn't, so here we are. But what do you guys think? Is there a type of love that can transcend teacher-student relationships? Could it be possible? Or are these teachers simply taking advantage of their positions to prey on minors? Let me know what you think. But as always, let's try to end this episode on a more positive note. So I hopped back over to that list of feel-good stories that I shared from last week for today's positive highlight. This poor student described themselves as chubby, weird, overly friendly, and affectionate, and not part of any clubs or things like that. Then apparently their music teacher met and opened up the song and dance club to students that were a grade lower than normal so that this particular student could join that year because they really wanted to. They credit that with giving them 4 years of being able to shine as the star their teacher saw them as, and overall just giving them more confidence to get through life, which is great. Teachers can do so much good, which is why stories like today's are just so disappointing. Anyways, we'll be shifting gears back to some murder next week. So until then, please stay safe out there. Bye.